go. The river passage. Okay, so now there should be, yeah, there's some notes down there. So yes, this here is where we get our banjo ability for this level. No, stop. Nailed it. Got it. So I started watching a new anime recently called Strike the Blood. And then I discovered something about Crunchyroll's apps. They don't all work the same. And I know this because when I watch anything at work, obviously I'm using my phone. And I know that the app on the phone just goes by your birthday. For whether or not it will show you mature content. Or what it considers mature content. But there is an option in or on your profile settings for Crunchyroll to show mature stuff. You know, it's so that if you maybe are sharing it with somebody, they will oh fuck you. Go fuck yourself. I clearly was to the side. Anyway, if you're sharing it with somebody who's maybe not or shouldn't be watching mature stuff, obviously, you can turn that on. It's like a parental control, I guess, but at the same time, if the odds are the kid would be able to go into the same. But anyway, my point is that there's a setting there, and that's what that app on the Xbox goes off. And I know this because I started watching Strike the Blood at work. And all of their story arcs are 4 episodes long. And I can only watch 3 episodes at a time at work. So I came home and I tried to watch the 4th episode. And fucking couldn't find it. Could not find Strike the Blood on my Xbox app. It wasn't in my history. It wasn't on my watch list. It wasn't on my... I couldn't just search for it. Nothing, right? But eventually I finally figured it out. But while I was searching for it, because that was like the most common thing that I found online, where it's like, oh, make sure your mature thing is on. But what I did find out is that their settings for mature doesn't seem to make too much sense. Because, like, Strike the Blood, I'm assuming that has a mature rating because of blood. Because when most people think anime and think mature, they're probably thinking, oh, like, nudity or more, anime nudity, right? Where it's like you don't really see anything, but, at the same time, I've watched animes where, like, every 5 seconds, I watched Demon King Daimyo or something to that effect. And there was one girl on there who's naked probably more often than she was wearing clothes. Now, to be fair, I don't like saying that there was a reason behind it, because, I mean, obviously, the reason behind it is they wanted her naked, I'm assuming, so then they came up with a reason why. It's like my guess for why Quiet on the Phantom Pain is the way she is. It's not that it's like, oh, what if she had these abilities and then they worked off of that. It's like, oh, well, let's have her wear this. It's like, all right, but we need a reason that people will believe. It's like, all right, well, what about this? It's like, okay, there you go. But her reason was that when she turned there, she could turn invisible, but she couldn't change her, she couldn't turn her clothes invisible. So it's like, all right. But anyway, so yeah, she was naked constantly, and not the only one. Like, I say that she had an excuse for it. That doesn't explain, like, pretty much every time any of the other girls got into a fight, they would lose their clothes. So, I mean, but anyway, Strike the Blood doesn't have anything like that. 8 episodes in, and I think, like, the worst, and I use that term very loosely, or very mildly, I guess, was that there was panties. That was it. Literally, that was the worst thing, is that you saw a girl's panties a couple times. Ow. So I mean, like, clearly not that big a deal, right? But it was until I switched on mature, I could not. There we go. Come here. Come here. Come. Okay, hang on. Maybe I just need to talk to the Triceratops first before I kidnap her. Yeah. But yeah. So I mean, I'm assuming it has to do with the blood, but like even then, there isn't like a huge amount of blood in it. I mean, but here's the thing, right? While I was searching for it, I did manage, or like before I turned on the mature thing, I did manage to find Monster Masume. I don't think I pronounced that right. Probably not. I've never heard it said. I've just read it. Now, if you want to talk about a show that should be under mature content, I mean, anybody who knows anything about that show, I mean, like, well, the first episode is more or less, so anyway, the plot of Monster Masume, because I have watched it, it's a very funny show. I do enjoy it. I've watched it once, I've actually just started rewatching it again. But what it is this guy gets stuck looking after monster girls because the coordinator that's supposed to send them to, or like get them host families, took after. So the government knew about monsters all along. They decided to reveal monsters to the world, and to integrate them into society, they're letting certain monsters come over, kind of like a work visa or whatever. And they're providing them host families to live with while they're in Japan, right? So the coordinator is lazy. She's very lazy and doesn't really care. And when she brought the Mia, to, because Lamia, Mia, get it? All their names are like that, by the way. Basically, yeah. She brought her to the wrong host family. She brought him to the main character's house for whatever reason, and just figured good enough, and had her remodeled his house and had her live with him. And the first episode is basically the Lamia trying to get him to have sex with her because she's in love with him, because he treated her like a person, instead of like being disgusted that she's part snake, or like being mean to her because she's a monster or anything. Just treated her like a normal guest in his house. But yeah, so like the first episode is just basically her trying to sleep with him, and yet that is not under the mature setting. So it's like, what the, like, who at Crunchyroll is deciding what is mature or not? It makes no sense. So anyway, if you remember that Triceratops, we picked him up in Witchy World. We dropped this Triceratops here, and we will deal with him on Friday. Oh, you know what? It may actually be easier to bring Kazooie to... Well, we'll just go with Banjo. I'm gonna say it might be easier to bring Kazooie to Banjo. But yeah, so like, I don't know how the person at Crunchyroll determines what goes underneath the mature settings. Damn it. It's really annoying that they made that bridge, or that path up there, a fucking one that you need Kazooie to get up. Considering that you need to go as Banjo to do what I just did, and then obviously Kazooie will be stuck in there until you go back to get her. It's very annoying. But anyway, but yeah, it's very weird. I didn't really pay that much attention as I was looking. That was just one that caught my eye as I was searching through stuff to try and find Strike the Blood. But anyway, Strike the Blood. It's a pretty good anime so far. I feel like they may be a little loosey-goosey with their magic, but, you know, it doesn't matter. The thing that confuses me, though, about not every anime, not every monster anime, but a lot of them, is why Japanese people think that vampires are basically gods. I don't know if I talked about, I feel like I may have talked about this once before in an episode of something, but I mean, I just started a new anime that has a vampire main character, so I feel like it's relevant again. Um, but yeah, I don't know, because like the main character is something called the fourth progenitor. So the progenitors, I don't, it's spelled progenitor, but I feel like I've always heard it called progenitor, but whatever. Point is, he's the fourth one. There's three others that rule over parts of Europe, I guess. I don't know. They brought a minion, I guess you could say, of the first progenitor into it, who rules like Eastern Europe or some shit. And then this guy's the fourth one. It has to do with like some holy treaty or something that the three progenitors signed, but the fourth one didn't. But like the fourth one's the strongest vampire in existence. But anyway, yeah. So like he's like insanely powerful. Like at one point he gets his head. Well, I mean, I feel like I was about to say spoiler alert, but I guess at one point he gets his head. I have a feeling you already know what's coming up, but spoiler alert anyway for the first 4 episodes, I guess. I guess technically episode 3. He gets his head cut off and he's fine. When he gets hurt, his body just puts himself back together, blood and all, by the way. Like he got his head cut off. The one chick was in front of him, got coated in his blood. But when he healed, his blood went back into him as well. So, but yeah, but the thing is though, is that he is very strong, as you can imagine. But the thing is like the vampires in that fight with familiars, which more or less work the same as, you know, the majority of like familiars or summons, you know, stuff like that. Now, in general, my version of familiars is a magical creature of some sort that is bound by a pact to serve, you know, the wizard. In that case, it would be vampire, whatever, right? But it's a physical creature that's always there. It will have like a connection to the person, generally, so that they can give them like mental commands without having to speak or something, so that they can like communicate without talking, stuff like that. But like the creature itself is a physical thing that's always like there, whereas a summon is similar, but it's not physically there unless the person summons it, you know. And it's based on like a time limit, you know, depending on like the strength of the caster and whatnot, that will make the creature, you know, be there for longer, right? But they call them familiars, but they are summons. Like going by my definition of summon and familiar, what they use would be considered a summon and not a familiar. Also, I think that's it for Mumbo. I don't think we need him for anything else, I hope. But yeah, that's how they fight. But because the main character got his vampire progenitor, whatever, from a different one, he inherited all of her familiars. But because he doesn't drink human blood, none of them will listen to him. But every time he drinks the blood of somebody, he basically gains a new familiar, more or less. So like in episode, and that seems to be like each so I'm 8 episodes in, which is 2 story arcs. And in each story arc, he's drank a different person's blood and gained a new familiar. Which, you know, fine, whatever. Doesn't really make it. Oh, should we do the baby T-Rex transformation now? I'm trying to think of what all there is to do as the baby Rex. Because I know there's the one thing up the mountain that we can do. And I think that might actually be it. But you know what? We'll save it for now because we're already partway up the mountain. So fuck it. We'll save it for now. But yeah, it's a pretty good show so far. I feel like it's still like on the fence for me as to whether or not, or, fuck off, as to how far I'll make it, like whether or not I'll finish it, because it does have a few seasons. I think. So I mean, we'll see if I make it through a full season or not. It is one of those ones where like the main character has like basically every girl is in love with them, which I'm not opposed to. I will say I prefer it if the main character has basically one love interest. You know, like even if there are other girls who may like Sword Art Online, right? Like Sato there had other girls who were interested in him, but you know clearly it was all about Asuna for him. You know, like there was a clear like winner, I guess. Um, whereas a lot of them don't have that. Oh yeah, so that's Terry. He slash she, I don't know. It's Terry with a Y, which is generally a dude. Whereas, because generally if there's a girl that's named Terry, she goes with like an I at the end of the name instead of a Y. But I mean, there's no like rule against it. But yeah, he shoots goop at you as you climb up. It's not very hard to dodge, because you're obviously fast enough to dodge it. The only thing that you really have to worry about is when you're going over jumps. He can pick you out of the air with it because you are a little bit slower in the air. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, it's pretty good so far. The weird thing about this is, I don't know. I feel it's not so much like that. I don't quite understand the motivations, but I feel like it's one of those ones where they decide to have too much intrigue, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word. There's too many people trying to not necessarily control the main character. Yeah, like I don't think that it's necessarily that there's so many people trying to control the main character, but there's so many people trying to like direct him in different ways, and I feel like they just went too much with it, you know? So this here is one of the things that we can't quite get everything in. There's 3 different exits on the other end. There's one that you need Banjo and Kazooie for. There's one that you need just Kazooie for, and there's one that you need just Banjo for. Every time this thing stomps on you, by the way, it absolutely destroys your health. And as you can see, there's a health over there. There's no point to it. Yeah, see, it absolutely wrecks your health. Now, thankfully, we can do this, and it does work. Which is a solid way to get across as Banjo and Kazooie, which will get you the Jiggy. You can, I think, make it across without using that, but it is a little bit hard because it doesn't give you like a huge amount of time in between stomps, but I think if you time it just right. But yeah, we can make it through as Banjo and Kazooie. We can make it through as just Kazooie, because Kazooie is faster and can also use I think it's called Wonder Wing. There's also a trick where like if you get him to like stomp, because as you see, like the foot comes down a specific way, or like different ways, and if you can get the foot to come down in a way where you can jump out while the foot is still on the ground, Oh, can I not Wonder Wing as Kazooie? Oh, wow. Oof. There we go. That'll get us the Jinjo. But unfortunately, Banjo is really slow, and until you get an ability from a later level, it might actually be the next level as well. We can't get Banjo across there by himself. What was I talking about? I know I was talking about Strike the Blood, but I honestly can't remember. You know what? We used up pretty much all of our clockwork eggs. Not that we need them right now, but 2 health, eh? Well, that's a shame. Oh, God. Almost walked right off. I forgot that it didn't just put us right into the fight. Alright. Alright, Terrence. So yeah, Terry here thinks that we stole... See, now that's why I say he, she, because, like, it's eggs, so you would assume her, but it's Terry with a Y, so you would assume him. And it just says pterodactyl parent, so I mean, maybe it's it and it's both. But yeah, there's stages to this fight. Once again, you don't need grenade eggs, but grenade eggs will do the most damage. But yeah, what was I talking about? I think I was just talking about how, like, the main characters' animes all have, like, a dozen love interests. But anyway, yeah, it's, I don't know. I watched another one recently as well that I don't think I talked about, called, God, it's one of those ones with, like, really long name. Prodigies have it easy even in another world or something to that effect. I didn't finish it. I never finished the first season. I didn't really care for it. It was not one of those ones where the main character had a bunch of different love interests, mainly because they're like a bunch of main characters. Although I will say, I guess there is, like, the one guy could be considered, I guess, like the main character. But I mean, depending on what story arc you're looking at, would really, I guess he's still, I don't know, he's basically the character. He does kind of have 2 love interests, basically, but that's more or less it. Which is, you know, whatever that, you know, sure. It's not everyone is the point, right? But yeah, it was a fine show, but the whole point of that one is that it's like the 7, I want to say. Graded, like, best whatever, so it was like the best, but they were all in high school. So it's like a politician that's still in high school but became prime minister of Japan. A guy who's still in high school but is so good with money and business that he's like involved in 30% of financial transactions worldwide or something. Oh yeah, so now that we beat the shit out of Terry, he believes us that we haven't stolen his eggs. And he tells us that they should be hatching soon. And then he puts flight pads there, which I feel aren't as useful as I initially thought. I think all they're really used for is, I mean, they do help. They'll help us get a Jinjo. Now it's showing us where... I don't think it even shows us all the eggs. I think it shows us some. But yeah, I think my issue with, like, the Prodigy thing is they made them too good at what they do. Like, they have, like, and the one girl is an inventor. And yes, we did get 2 Jiggies that quickly. And being in this new world for like a month, she builds a fucking factory and like a power plant. Uh, and that, so like I said, I feel like they just made them too good at what they do. Um, like the first more or less story arc has to do with the merchant guy. I guess he's an entrepreneur, but you know, to fit in the fantasy world that they get shoved into, the one guy just they just called him the merchant. Um, should we do this one first, or should we save? I think we should save this one for last, actually. Um, I thought that one was pretty good. Like everything he did, I feel it didn't break any of like the fantasy world stuff or anything. You know, it made sense, right? Like what he did would potentially be what somebody in a fantasy world could do, right? But like the inventor is too much. They have the world's best swordsman, which is a woman who can apparently charge soldiers with automatic who have automatic weapons and win, which is a bit much. And I think it was honestly her that made me stop watching it because at one point they're being attacked by this giant fire elemental thing, and they're gonna fire a missile at it, but the missile can't lock onto it because there's too much fire all around it. So like they needed to hit a specific point. Um, and she fucking holds onto the missile, runs alongside of it, and fucking turns it and stops it, or not. Well, no, she straight up stops it at points just by like digging her feet into the ground so much that it digs up the ground. And I feel like that's what broke me on it. Like I did watch a couple episodes past that, but I want to say that that's probably what did it. Because like while obviously animes have a lot of ridiculous stuff in them, I feel like that one just pushed it too much. Because like I said, I mean the merchant obviously he's dealing with money and business. There's not really a whole lot that he could have done to be ridiculous. The one guy's a politician, so once again, there's not really like a huge amount that he could really theoretically do that could be considered construed as, you know, being ridiculous. Um, but like the inventor chick was just doing way too much. Um, and then what was it? Oh, then they have a magician, the world's greatest magician, because that's something that you become a high school prodigy for, not bullied for. Um, who is doing magic that is impossible. Like, haha, he mastered levitation. It's like, all right, sure. I mean, I've seen Chris Angel do it. I've seen other ones do it. Did I get it? No. Damn it, and I landed. But he can do it basically at any time, it seems. Like, there's no setup to it. Like, they don't have him... Like, they say he's the world's greatest magician, but then they don't have any actual logic behind his magic tricks. Like, at one point, he removes his head while his body is floating in the air and has it... And, like, he takes his own head off, which is fine. Like, when they first did the trick first, it's like, alright, because this was just after they had made it to the world, but they had been there for a little while, so maybe he had set up some... And he knew what he was like, that this was about to happen, so, you know, he had time to set up and everything. So, you know, maybe... And because, like, the technology that they have, sure, maybe he could set up something... Oh, fuck me. I didn't mean to do that. You know, maybe he could have set up something to do his levitation trick, and then like the decapitation trick I had also seen other people do, and I know how that one's done more or less. Wasn't dumbass over here somewhere? Jam jars. Oh, maybe this ramp. So you know, I know that was done, but then his head came completely off of his body. And split pads there. Where the hell is jam jars? I could have swore that he was like right over here because that's where the shoes were. Whatever, I'll try again and see if I fuck it up enough to die. But yeah, like while his body is still floating in the air, his head fully comes off and like goes and like circles around one of the guys on the ground. And it's like, all right, well, that's not a possible illusion that you could do right now. Not without like, I just don't think it's like a magic trick that you could physically do. Uh, but yeah, and then what's the other ones? You have the merchant, the politician, the swords woman, I guess, the magician, the inventor. There's 7 of them. Oh, the doctor, but I have no issues with the doctor. I mean, once again, they have better technology and everything. She's just a very good doctor. So I have no issue with anything that she had done in the episode. But I mean, what she does is literally fix people up. So I mean, unless she put somebody's head back on and brought them back to life, I don't like. She did technically bring someone back to life, but I mean, doctors in real life do that anyway. You know, assuming the person hasn't been dead for too long. So I mean, that's fine. And he didn't drop any. That's a shame. So I mean, whatever, that's fine. So we have merchant, politician, doctor, inventor. What was the last one? I feel like I'm missing one, right? What's the last? Who the hell was the last one? Anyway, obviously not that important. But yeah, I watched a couple episodes past the one where she fucking guided the missile in herself, which was ridiculous. And then like the next episode was just more or less all of the female characters plus the magician guy in a public bath together for no reason. And like the one little girl that the merchant had taken as an apprentice, also in the bath. All of them naked, obviously, they're in a bath. And it was just basically them teaching her math. And it was just, I don't know, it was just like a really weird episode. Like I said, I've watched Monster Master Moon, so I mean, having like anime nudity doesn't bother me. But it's just when they have it for while doing nothing, you know. Like I'm not saying that they need a reason behind it, but I mean when literally nothing that they were doing had anything to do with the fact that they were naked. Oh, are you fucking kidding me? You bitches. And now I'm back here. You fucking whores. But yeah, I don't. It was just, you know, weird. And I think that may have been. I don't know if that was the last episode I watched or the second last episode. But yeah, I was just like, you know what? I mean, to be fair, I think I'm like 2 episodes away from the end of the show, maybe 3. But it's just like, no, I'm done. But yeah, like if they had depowered them just like a little bit, like having the inventor chick like being able to do stuff is fine, but how much she could do was ridiculous. So yeah, but yeah, we have to hatch all the eggs, and I can't remember how many there are. I want to say there's 4. There might be 3. But anyway, the last one that you hatch can't move. It's like the fat kid at the theme park, which sounds like it sounds like I'm making like just like a general reference, but no, I literally mean like the fat kid at the theme park. And he can't move, and you need Banjo's taxi pack to get him. That's why I left that egg that we had already found up at the top. Because since he's up there, then that'll be the shortest trip for Banjo to carry him up. I also think that did we get all the musical notes? 600, so I think so, because I think we had got all the overworld ones. Yeah. Okay, so we got all those. Oh, cool. All we're missing is a couple of the... Also, how long have we been going? Oof. Yeah, definitely 2 parts. I told you. So what the hell is in the last... Oh, actually, did we get any Cheeto pages? Because I don't think we picked any up. It's not objects, items. No, that's what it is. We haven't got any Cheeto pages. Um, but yeah, like if they had depowered them a little bit, maybe I would have enjoyed it a little bit more. But yeah, they just had them doing too much. Because like I like the bringing them into the alternate world and whatnot, you know, and them having knowledge, obviously, that lets them do stuff that the people of that world can't do or hadn't thought of doing or whatever. That's not the right one. No, that's not right either. But yeah, like I said, they just had them doing too much. That didn't make sense, you know. Up there. So that's 2, and then we need to go through the other cave to get the one that's back near the Mayhem Temple. Like, for example, I think I said I've been watching Ascendance of the Bookworm, maybe. I'd stopped watching it for a little bit, but I finished it now. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It is very slow to start. But if you stick with it, it does pick up a little bit. But like that one there, she came into that world with all of her knowledge and everything. But like the stuff that she was doing was still more or less possible with the technology that world had. They just hadn't done it right. Like she made shampoo. She made paper using plants instead of parchment or whatever you make parchment. Stuff like that, you know. She showed them how to, I think crochet, I think is the right word. I mean, like, there really wasn't a whole lot that she did that was, like, absolutely ridiculous, you know? Like, obviously it was ridiculous because she was 6, I think, 5 or 6, when she got put into that world. So, I mean, it was ridiculous that she had the knowledge she had and was doing the things she was doing, but, you know, whatever. It still ended up being a really good show. And I ended up really enjoying it, even though I'll admit, I was a little iffy on it at about the halfway mark. Like I did stop watching it, but then I decided to give it another few episodes, and I ended up really enjoying it. So I'm glad I did. All right. Okay, so now if we can get a warp pad, go back up to the top of the mountain. That should be one just over here, right? But yeah, I've been cruising through a lot of animes. I found another one that I can watch like on my 15-minute coffee breaks. It's like Armor Shop for Ladies and Gentlemen, because they're like 3-minute episodes. And it's just basically making fun of female armor in video games. Like that's more or less the entire show. Is just making fun of the fact that, you know, women wear such skimpy armor. But it's pretty funny. It's actually so good in just 3-minute episodes that I'm annoyed that they aren't full 20-minute episodes. Like I want full episodes of that show. Okay, so like this egg here, like I said, you can get up there as Kazooie because in a little bit we'll get a spring jump, which lets her basically do the same thing that those green pads do, but she doesn't need the green pad for it. But thankfully, there's a flight pad in here that we can use as Kazooie to get up on top of that egg anyway. But yeah, I've been cruising through my animes there. I've started rewatching some as well. Started rewatching Death March again because I got book 9 of it now, so I started rewatching the show again. Did not realize how much they added to before he got put into that world for some reason. Like, I've read through the mangas twice now. And for some reason, it did not occur to me that there's like a whole interaction in the show that happens before he gets put in, or before he gets slammed into the other world. That just straight up isn't in the manga. Now, whether or not it's in the book, I don't know, but I would assume so, because like it's a weird thing to add, considering how few people I imagine watch an isekai anime for what happens to the person before he goes into the alternate world. But yeah, I actually ordered from Right Stuff Anime 1F, not 2. I ordered a bunch of books from them, and they just recently came in. I got book 9 of my Death March ones that I was missing. I got all 3 of the Misfit Demon King Academy, which actually only covers half of the first season of the anime. So far, I have to say though that for Death March, I feel like the show is good. It's different from the manga, and I can't say that the manga is necessarily better than the show, but whoever, I think I've said this before, whoever adapted it for the show didn't do a very good job. Alright. Let's view our totals again, because we should be pretty much done. We have the Triceratops for a Jiggy. We have to get that one guy water. That'll get us a Jiggy and I think a Cheeto page. Because I don't think we can fly to the Cheeto page. I'm pretty sure we need the water. Oh yeah, we still need to go get... Okay. Oh. Okay. Right, we still haven't done the baby T-Rex. I completely spaced on that. And there's also there's also a Cheeto page that we can get as Banjo that we need to do. But yeah, for like Death March, I will say that the books are different enough from the show that it's hard to necessarily say which one is better, because the show did do some stuff better, but I feel like that was more because like the guy translating it altered it enough that like he altered it for, I feel, whoever adapted it was American. Now, granted, if I watched the Japanese voiceover, maybe it would be different. But I only watched the English one, and it's definitely been adapted more for English audiences, just like some like the phrases that they use and everything. But the thing that's weird about it is that it takes out a lot of the action in, but leaves in a lot of like the slice of life stuff. But it also leaves, or I don't know. It's weird because like the first manga, is like, I want to say like 2 or 3 episodes of the anime, and then like the second manga is 1 episode, and that's it, and it cuts out a lot of it, right? So I feel like that's really weird. Like that's a really weird choice to go with. But because of the stuff that they left out of it, or that they left out of the anime compared to the so as you may have noticed there, she said left stick to move but didn't say anything about roaring, and that's because we need to go down here, and now that we're a baby T-Rex, the Stegosaurus will talk to us. You don't even know how to roar properly. So yeah, we have to talk to a Stegosaurus. But anyway, because of certain things that they took out of the the anime, it really kind of hinders them making a second season. Not that I think that they will, because at this point it's been way too long. So that's a Cheeto page that we could have seen from inside the mountain. I think if we read this, maybe roar, roar, long roar, roar. Yeah. Okay, and then the glittering prize will be yours. So short, short, long, short, long, long. Okay. But yeah, it kind of hinders them because it kind of just absolutely destroys certain plot points that happen later in the manga. So it's like they kind of shot themselves in the foot. I feel like they only read a couple of books at a time, and whoever was doing it didn't do a very good job. But then for like the Misfitted Demon King Academy, I honestly feel like I only read the first manga so far, so this opinion could change. But currently, I will say that the show seems to be better. They did do some weird stuff. Like they changed a few things that didn't really make a huge amount of sense for why they would change them. Now that code there, I don't know if it changes or not. I don't know if it's always the same code. But, it's 6 things to remember. It's not hard. Okay. Back to our totals. We should be missing 1 Cheeto page that we can't get to, I don't think, without water. Okay, so we need to get him water. We need to finish with the... We need to finish with the Triceratops, which we'll be doing in the next episode. Right, and we need to feed the guys. Alright, so that is 3 things that we won't be getting in this part. So we're actually done in Terrydactyland. We're finally finished. Now, we will actually be getting 1 more, because we'll finish with the dinosaurs in the next part, but that involves doing stuff outside of the world. So yeah, we'll deal with that in the next part. And then we'll be going back to Witchy World to get our 1 Jiggy out of there. We've got a Cheeto page to get. I don't think the Springy Step shoes do anything for us outside the world. And so we'll have to go back to Jolly Roger's Lagoon to get a Jiggy. So we do have a few things that we need to get. But that'll be it for this part. And next part, I'll be talking about anime and manga a lot less. Because we'll just be able to focus on this. But no promises for Assassin's Creed Valhalla this week. Which, if you're watching this episode, odds are you watched, well, maybe not odds are, but this episode Wednesday, so 1 episode of Valhalla will already been out. So if you watch that, you may know whether or not my conversation continues. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you on Friday for more.